This is the time of the year when you are actually deciding between submitting your application in round one versus submitting your application to R2. What are the key things which are important? I'll be discussing some perspectives around R1 versus R2 MBA applications. What are the main differences between the round one and the round two MBA applications? So the first point to take note is timing. R1 deadlines are typically in September or October, usually September, whereas the R2 deadlines will be sometime in end of December or January. So you get a lot of time to prepare your application if you're planning for R2 rather than pushing it in R1. Second is competition. So R1 technically is thought of as having fewer applicants, but a higher proportion of well-prepared candidates. So available slots. Round one has all the seats open, so the available slots are definitely higher in round one than in round two. Scholarship opportunities, unless the school says that the round one applications will have a higher scholarship opportunity, these are things which are changing very quickly, and scholarship opportunities are actually almost equal in round one or round two, depending on how the pool is allocated by the respective school. So it is always best when you are judging your round one versus round two applications to ask the school directly about this opportunity, whether you will have it or not. So if you're applying in round one, you're definitely interested in the school. You're telling them that this is my first school of choice. It shows your strong interest in the MBA program. So these are the four things where the round one and the round two applications will differ. Is it better to submit a polished application in round two versus a less refined one in round one? So today is end of August, and you are someone who's just written the GMAT a week before. Do you have your application ready? Do you think it is strong enough to make a cut? Just getting the GMAT score, everyone knows, is no longer enough. So if you're choosing between a polished application in round two versus a quick application or a rushed application in round one, you should always go for the round two. It is better to submit a polished application even if it means waiting for round two. There are admits in round two as well. Here's another aspect to this. You have a 90 to 95% ready application. Should you go for round one or should you take it to round two? Now, if your application is almost ready, it is always good to take the benefit of the timing and go for round one. The third question to answer over here is, how does the GMAT score factor into the round one versus round two decision? When you're deciding between putting up your application in round one versus submitting your application in round two, how does the GMAT factor in? So if your current score is close to or above the school's average GMAT score, you can go ahead and put up your application in round one itself. If you think that there's more work to do on the GMAT end and you're just rushing in for catching on the timing benefit of round one, then pushing in your application in round one with a lesser score than the average of the school is not a very good idea. You can take up that consideration of how you can prepare for the GMAT or the GRE test in the upcoming months and then secure a stronger GMAT or a GRE score. If you can do that, then round two is always a better option. Should I retake the GMAT for round two if I'm not very satisfied with my current score? So if you're not very satisfied with your current score, you can consider retaking the GMAT and applying in round two, but there are some things that you must keep in mind. The first is, what was your actual test score versus the practice test score that you were getting? Is there a huge difference between the mock scores that you were getting and the actual score that you secured? Then definitely it is a good idea to retake the GMAT once. What are the average GMAT scores at the target schools? So if you're targeting a school like ISB or an IMA or an international school where the average of the school, let's say, is a 700 or a 720, and where does your actual score lie right now? If you think there's going to be a substantial increase in your GMAT score for round two, then you can definitely take it to round two.